Okay, guys. As usual, I am a few minutes late. Sorry about that. So, here is what we've got going on today. Excuse me. All right, let's make sure we're not on mute. We are broadcast. We are not on mute. Okay. Got to check just because I screwed that up a little while ago, as you might remember. Okay, so here's what we're doing today. Um, I was contacted by someone through Facebook who was asking about the 20-minute leads product, um, and whether or not it applied to his industry. So, what we worked out is normally, I charge $3,000 to do a one-on-one where I go through the entire program live with people. And so what's awesome about that is that not only do I teach them the content, but I also go through and I actually do it with them on the call. And so it's not this kind of thing where you sit back and you watch and like, oh, that's interesting. By the end of the training, they have the stuff ready to go. And I was talking with them, and I was like, so much has changed since I released the product last time. Um, there's AI. There's so much AI that has come out that wasn't out when I made the course last time, and there's just so much new stuff that I've been doing since I made it last time that I'd like to update the content. And so, if you would be willing to, um, you know, sit with it and let me record it and use it and stuff in the future, I'll do it for you for a significant discount. And yeah, so that's the whole idea. It is now 2 hours before we're supposed to start, and I want to prepare my stuff so that when I meet with him, we are ready to go. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Let's see. Okay, so this right here, let's see, screen one. Okay, so this right here is the outline. This came to me in the last night, and so what I'm going to do is let's make this bigger. Can we make this bigger? Okay, so this is sort of what I want to go over, and we're actually going to work on this today. So the main idea and this is like the full thing, the full framework. So before, like you can go buy 20-minute leads, go to 20minuteleads.com and buy the course that is just the part about making ads. I have another product that I made called 5-minute follow up. And so the idea of that is with 20-minute leads, I'm going to overwhelm you with leads. So much so that you're going to be frustrated because now you have to work all these leads that you just got. A 5-minute follow-up shows you how to take that problem and make it a not problem. And so before, when we did that, there weren't all these AI tools that have come out in the last few months to make that easier. And so that's what we want to do. I have another product that I have called the Ultimate Offer, which is incredible if you want to ask me my true opinion. But, there is a lot more that has come out since I made that product. Hormozi came out with his book launch, which changed everything. Not only just proving that just taking, it's like that was like the 4-minute mile, like before his $100 million money models book launch. I think the max that had ever been sold from stage was Russell Brunson, $3 million a few years ago, and he has talked about this record ever since then. And so for Hormozi to come out and do $100 million in like a day, it was like the 4 minute mile. It just changed everything. And so, since that came out, there's a lot that I've learned since then, especially with the new AI tool that's come out from that, that needs to be addressed. And so it changes everything. So here's sort of what I want to go over. So the first part I want to start out with is, hi, I'm Goliath. Now the whole idea here is that everybody wants to be the big dog. They want, they look at these companies with the big budgets and they say, oh my gosh, how can I compete against these people? They're so huge. They're so, they're just spending so much money. And that is true. It is fairly difficult to compete with those people. But that was me. I was the big dog. And so once I left the law firm, because, let's be honest, lawyers, right? Not exactly the most exciting environment to have a less than toxic life in. So I left that to work on my Amazon business. Thank goodness. But yeah, I was the big dog. I was there when it was exclusively traditional marketing. And when I got there in 2012, it was a really interesting time because, well, we'll get into that. And so I was the big dog. Let me share with you my secrets. Let me tell you how to kill me, since I'm Goliath. Sort of a way I've heard it described in the past is I've climbed to the top of the mountain and returned with the elixir. I think that's a reference to, I don't think that it's the top of the mountain, but in the hero's journey, that's kind of that. So my story of failing at real estate and learning internet marketing. Break the agency dependency myth. Why I hate agencies. If you know me at all, you'll know that there are few things that I despise in the world more than agencies. Truly an evil situation. I have worked at an agency. I've owned an agency. Let me see my fingers here. I've worked at an agency. I've owned an agency. I've hired and fired dozens of agencies, spent over $1 million in that process on agencies, and I hate them. So as a matter of fact, if you want to know why I hate them, go to agenciesareevil.com and it will redirect you to a blog post that I wrote voicing all of my grievances with agencies, or at least 10 of them. Okay, so war stories, that's kind of what I'm talking about. One of them, an example, is a $200,000 website that didn't perform any better than a $5,000 website that I had done a couple years before that. Excuse me. And even that $5,000 website didn't do any better than the one that I had made myself. Excuse me. All right. Law firms are always the first stop. As it seems to always be the case, is that the owners are hiring nephews of their golfing buddies. Totally the case. All right. So next I want to reveal how agencies work. Why do people do it? What's the drive? What's the desire? And I want to make people dissatisfied with agencies forever, which is kind of rude. I mean, to be completely honest with you, I don't know if I should do that, because, once you pull back the curtain, and show people the Wizard of Oz, if they don't want to, go forward with doing it themselves, which is my recommended solution, every time they get approached by an agency, they're probably going to be frustrated. So I'm going to do it. Like, I've actually thought about this, whether I should or should not, but, I think that people will probably benefit from it. So, okay. What does it look like to conduct your own marketing orchestra? You can do this. So the big example that I think is just perfect is, gosh, I was blanking here. Malcolm Gladwell has his book where he talks about the 10,000 hour rule, where if you want to master something, it takes 10,000 hours. And so for years, I would approach something and I'd say, you know, I'm really interested in this thing, but I don't have 10,000 hours. But the point is, the problem is, that is like mastery. You know, you don't need to be a master guitar player in order to enjoy playing the guitar. You know, you don't have to be a Larry Page or or someone of that caliber in order to actually have fun with the guitar. A book by Josh Kaufman called The First 20 Hours shows that proficiency comes at about the 20-hour mark. So you'll notice that there is a big difference between 20 hours and 10,000 hours. If you are proficient at something at 20, I mean, how good do you have to be at marketing in order to make something work? I mean, you have to be decent. It's not like I'm saying you don't have to be good at it, but you don't have to be 10,000 hours good in order to make it work, okay? So that's the point I'm trying to make, is that most people are looking at this and they're saying, I don't have 10,000 hours. And I'm like, you don't need 10,000 hours. Let's do 50 hours. You know, let's do an hour a day for a couple of months and you're good. You know, not like you don't want to continue to learn, but it's not 10,000 hours. So all you're shooting for is proficiency. And the purpose of the course is just to open people's mind and to help them have a mindset shift, which is, I don't know how to do this. I'm scared and I'm overwhelmed. Let's hire an agency, because that almost never works. 2, you know, this is my business. You know, I'm in the driver's seat of my business. Just because I'm scared doesn't mean that I should turn the wheel over to some, you know, agency that usually is going to stick me with a junior account rep that's only been with the company for a few months, is just out of training, or actually is still in training. But yeah, so that's that. Okay, so here is how we are going to start. Start with the follow-up, or else you're throwing your money away. Okay. Excuse me. So getting the leads is the most exciting part of the entire process. They start coming in and you say, oh my gosh, this works. And I say, see, look, it works. You know, you don't want a refund. But I've had too many situations where people get in and they start getting all this leads and they get frustrated and cancel because they're not getting results. You know, when I dive into it, I'm like, what in the crap? How in the world are these people not getting results? And you look at it and they're not calling the leads, right? Now, when I look at that, I say, what is up with these lazy guys? But, you know, as you'll see when we make this a little later, a lot of times it's not lazy. It's, I got him 1,000 leads in a month, and now he has to make 1,000 phone calls in a month. And I'm trying to get him to call within 60 seconds. And so if you get 1,000 leads in a month and Michael wants you to call all of them within 60 seconds, it pretty much takes over your entire life. And it's horrible. So after I saw that, I don't really blame them that they weren't calling the leads. So the solution is to use AI to do a lot of it, or to to hire a team to work the leads, which actually honestly might be the best solution, because people that you hire are good at sales. That's the idea, is you hire people that are good at sales. So not only do the leads actually get responded to, but they're responded to by people that have an incentive to close them, because those companies usually are going to charge you a high fee, or they might even want a commission. So that's something that you have to think about. If you don't want to do the selling, you're going to have somebody with selling skills. Okay. So that's this first part. Even though everybody wants to get straight to the leads, the point that I'm trying to make is that if we don't do this other stuff first, when we actually get to the leads, they're going to, basically go into the strainer, and it'll fall out into the ground, and then you will hate me. And so the first thing we got to do is we got to talk about how are we going to work these leads when they come in. Okay. And we don't necessarily have to start this to solve this problem right in the beginning, but we do need to talk about it. We need to set the expectation that when these leads come in, you got to call them, or they have to be contacted. They got to be worked in a legitimate way. Okay, so next we need to talk about the research doc. Now, this is something I've only started doing in the last couple of months, and it has changed everything for me. Everything for me. Excuse me. Everybody in my family is sick right now. So so the research doc, the basic idea is you go out and you capture all kinds of information about the people that you're trying to serve, the market itself, angles that you can go at for marketing and that kind of thing. And the thing that's so amazing about that is it takes a few hours, maybe a couple hours, and you do that work up front. And if you do a good job, it makes the entire process so much easier. Oh my gosh, it is so much easier to do that. And the process, the way you do that is to use AI to scrape websites like Reddit, Quora, X, YouTube, Amazon. And then once we get that information, we then use AI to process it. And what we're trying to find out are these things right here. The questions they're asking. What are they thinking, feeling? What are they afraid of? What do they hope for? What's their dream outcome? What's the worst nightmare? We're trying to figure out, of all the things that we do, what are the ones that, what are different angles that we can take? If you watched the live stream a couple days ago, we were looking at the 20-minute leads program. We were trying to see what angle do people respond to. Is it they don't want to hire an agency? Is it how fast they can get leads? Is it how simple it is? There's different angles that you can attack this from, and you're trying to figure out which one do people respond to so that you can customize your messaging. Okay? We want to find out what other people are doing. We want to actually describe the avatar in a way that is so specific that when we say these things, they will think that we have read their mind, and they'll say, I have never been able to voice that thought. Michael understands me better than I understand myself. Therefore, I will assume that he has the solution and I have to buy. Okay? Something that I came up with that I've never heard anybody talk about is the 10-minute window. And so what we want to do is when someone sees our ad, we want to catch them in a moment when mentally they're in a mental space that makes them ready to respond to our ad. With my Rage Reset product, Jason, my avatar, I was trying to catch him 10 minutes after he had a blow up with his team, with his spouse, with his kid, something. There's been some scenario that occurred recently, and he's sitting on the toilet, looking at his phone, trying to distract himself because he's fuming, adrenaline is flooding his system, and he is on a knife's edge in his brain between blame and listening to that voice in the back of his head that says, this keeps happening to me, it must be my fault. And that blame is keeping him from accepting that, but it's this 10-minute window where he's just teetering on the edge. All it takes is for our ad to push him, and he goes off the edge into this is my fault, and this ad says that there's something that I can do about it. So that's the 10-minute window. This Money Models preview or overview, this is the Alex Hormozi book launch that, in my opinion, changed the entire game completely, because it shows where does this whole getting of the leads, where does that fit into the process? Because I'm guilty of this also. It's easy to think, I run ads for my thing, I make the money, and then I get rich. That's what we all want, right? But Hormozi, he broke it out into steps. The first thing is to get people in your door and cover your ad cost so that you basically get them for free, right? I mean, that's the idea. It wasn't for free. You got paid back, but you get the idea. So what you want to do is you want to get them in your door without coming out of pocket. And if you can get them in your door and get them to pay for not only themselves, but enough money to get the next person, then you can double your ad spend. And if you can do it again with the next people, your ad spend basically becomes unlimited, because not only does the person pay for themselves, they pay for the next person. That person comes in and pays for themselves and the next person, and it just goes exponential, right? And so that's sort of the point of this whole thing is it shows where does this fit into the process. And what Hormozi called it was the attraction offer. So we're not leading with our upsells or anything like that. This entire process is getting people in the door, and that is the attraction offer. The goal is to get the money back within 30 days. And the way that we calculate that is the lifetime gross profit versus how much did it cost to get them, right? So we want to collect in 30 days at least or the same amount of money it took to get them in the door. And so, yeah. Next, we actually go in and make an attraction offer. Once we have the attraction offer, it becomes super easy to make the ads. Obviously, once we've made the ads, we put them in Facebook and push the publish button. And then the next part is audibles and tweaks. What do we do when this thing doesn't work? Because I can almost guarantee that it is not going to work as soon as you publish it. That's just kind of how it is, sorry. But, usually when you publish something, it doesn't work. And then you can either look at yourself and say, Michael's evil and he stole my money. Or you can say, how am I going to tweak this to fix whatever problem it is occurring? And then we go into the 5-minute follow-up process, which now, I'm recommending 60 seconds, but I don't want to scare people. And just the different parts that go into that. We're going to talk about closing. I would not consider myself an amazing closer. So I'm not going to attempt to teach people how to close. However, I want people to understand where that sits in the process. And so after that whole thing, then I'm going to show how does Google Maps and Google Ads fit into this entire process. So this is the idea. We're going to work on building this whole thing now. And the main idea that I want people to walk away from this is saying, I am in charge of my marketing. It's not that, I shouldn't outsource marketing. It's not that I shouldn't hire agencies. It's that it doesn't work. If it did work, then by all means, let's just pay somebody and we don't have to think about it anymore. But it does not work. I've spent $1 million hiring and firing agencies. And there are only 2 in that entire time that I worked with that I would actually say were worth it. All the other ones were a ripoff. And yeah, I hated it. But yeah, so that is the main idea. What I want to get across in this class is that you are in charge. It is literally impossible for you to outsource this and make it work. But the good news is that becoming proficient is much easier than people think. And because I was Goliath, because I was the big dog, I can come in here and say, I spent money on everything. There's literally nothing that you can come up with that I haven't tried, spent tons of money on, and either proved that it worked or it didn't work. If it did work, what does it take to make it work? And what I found is that there are basically 3 levers. Out of all the stuff I ever tried, there are basically 3 that actually move the needle in a meaningful way. Okay? And that is Facebook ads, Google Maps and Google Ads. If I could only do one of those things, I would do Google Maps. You probably weren't expecting me to say that. But if I could only do one, it would be Google Maps. And I will prove that to you when we work on that day. So let's go ahead and just get started. Let me open up Canva. And we're going to create a new presentation. Let's see, what do we want to do? No, that's not it. Let's see. Alright, let's just create a new one. Presentations. Alright, now let's go ahead and do this. I'm going to say, hi, I'm Goliath. Let's move this. Wrong. Okay. Let's look at this and we'll say Goliath. Let's see. Alright, let's go in here, ChatGPT. Say, please make me a picture of Goliath from the Bible. I want it to be a full body shot and looking, let's see, get rid of this. Looking big and scary. Make it a, let's see. Let's look at this. What is a format that I like? Oh, this is a good one. Alright, let's see. Save this. Cartoon type character. Let's see what it comes up with. All right. Now, while we're waiting on that, why don't I go ahead and start working on this other thing. I'm going to pull it over on this side so that I don't actually know if changing tabs will ruin this, but I don't want to risk it. michaelspencer.com, about my story. Taking quite a while, but let me Let me pull this all over here. All right, here we go. It's coming through. That's going to look a lot like the example I gave it. It's like, wow, that is very, very, very close. So here's something I'm thinking about doing. While it's working on that, let me change to screen 2. Okay, let me move all this stuff out of the way. Or why don't I let's move this stuff over here. Sorry, let me just move this stuff over here. That. Oh, looks like I just have it on screen 2 plus DSLR. All right. Oh, okay. Actually, let's change this back to screen 1. Okay. So that's actually a pretty good picture. It's very close to the other one. But, all right, let's copy this image. Now make another one with that same exact Goliath. Smiling and pointing to the exposed area of his forehead above his between his eyebrows and the bottom of his helmet. Let's see if that's even possible. Okay, let's go over here and paste this in here. All right, let's do this. I really like this one here. Hi, I'm Goliath. Take this one, change it to, and I will say, or, oh wait. Or at least I was. Okay. Hi, I'm Goliath, or at least I was. I was the big dog, so let's see, where's the notes? I was the big dog, let me tell you my secrets. Let's see what it comes back with. Why don't we do this? This is kind of cool. It's still fairly impressive. What would it look like if I just covered this whole thing? Or, why don't we try this instead? Edit. Expand. Do it like this. See what it comes up with. That's interesting. Okay. Oh, there you go. That's cool. Oh, that's cool. About right here. I don't even know if it will do this, but let's say pointing about. Let's see if this will actually even work. I don't even know if this will work. Let's see if it does. That'd be cool. Make his finger point about right here. Let's see if that'll even work. Okay. Hi, I'm Goliath, or at least I was. All right. Let's see here. Duplicate. Oh my gosh, it actually might do it. All right. While it's thinking about that, where's my notes? Okay, so here is another thing I just thought of. Maybe this is not the most professional way to do this, but I could scroll, let's say, right here. Maybe this would be a good way to do it. And so when I go into the About Me, I could just go through here and start scrolling through here and telling my story. Agenciesareevil.com. Let's do this. Top 10 signs your marketing agency is evil. Let's see what happened here. No, they're not going to do it. Copy. Go here. edit, expand this way, expand this way, expand this way. Whoa. Oh, it's like a video game. How funny. Gosh, it'd be cool if I could get this other one. Maybe I tried to make it too big. Eesh. That's good enough. Doesn't look nearly as cool as this other one, though. I wonder what happened if I did this. Copy, let's duplicate this. Edit magic eraser. Let's do this. See. Alright, so we'll go here. Hi, I'm Goliath, or at least I was. Okay. Hi, I'm Goliath, or at least I was. I was the big dog. Let me tell you my secrets. Next. Let me tell you my secrets. Alright, I've climbed the mountain and returned with the elixir. Boom. Boom. That's close enough. Let's do about me, my story. Let's go here, paste this. How do I get it to do a preview like the other one? Link, preview. bet what it is I don't have one of those social sharing icons. So let's just do this here. Copy here. Or, you know what I could do? I have this brand. Let's see. I like the way this looks. Copy. Hi, I'm Mike. Delete. Oh, let's see, wrong one. Hi, I'm Mike. And I will take this, copy, let's say, here's my story. Link. Done. All right, here's my story. I'll open that. All right, break the agency dependency myth. Why I hate agencies. Let's see. What document was that in? High speed. Day 5. Let's look at Rebel. All right, let's see. High speed hot leads day 5. Not that one. Let's duplicate this. Let's go to RMC. Maybe that's what it is. Day 3, day 2. I need day 1. Day 1. I think this is it. Oh, these are great. Oh, man. This is even better. Really going all in on this, aren't I? Agencies are evil. Here we go. And the hard thing about this is like, can't really remember why I did some of this stuff. Like, I can tell that it was a good one, it's just why. I'm sure that was a good point when I did it. Hello there. You know, how far do I need to get? This website right here was cost me $2,000. Let's see if we can find the one that was 200. Let's see. This would have been, no, not 2023. This would have been probably 2019, maybe. Let's see, was this it? This might have been it. I'll come back to this. These are great. Let's try this. Paste. I guess I don't need this, so I'm going to do this. And it's going to be really disjointed, but who cares? Okay, how agencies work. Where is that one? Day 2. Oh, that's right. I'm on my sister's couch. All right, let's see. I'm going to have to end this early, guys. I'm really sorry. I will talk to you soon, hopefully.